And then there was 8. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love. We are now down to 8 in the race for the playoffs and race for the Lombardi Trophy. Wildcard weekend just wrapped up yesterday. Sorry for the delay. I had school today, but nonetheless, that's good. That's out of the way. I also give my thoughts on Kevin Durant's injury and where the standard of the Eastern Conference goes from there. But thank you for joining me. If you like this video, be sure to click that like, as well as if you want to see more, click that subscribe there in the corner. Let's start with the big stuff, shall we? So, wildcard weekend started with 14. Now it's down to 8. We had a couple of close games. I'm sure we thought more of these games would be closer than they were, but some more surprising outcomes than perhaps great games, but fun to watch. So, wildcard weekend started off in the NFL with the 4th seed Bengals winning the AFC North, hosting the 5th seed Las Vegas Raiders, who obviously have had great story coming in this, winning 4 straight. That overtime extravaganza to beat the Chargers to end the regular season. Um, Despite all the drama surrounding from John Gruden to Henry Ruggs to Damon Arnett, etc., they come into Cincinnati, who has had a great season as well, but trying to get their first playoff win since 1990. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. It wasn't a great day, explosive day like we saw a couple weeks ago for the Chiefs, but good enough and got done. First Raiders 26-19 final score. Bengals first playoff win since 1990. It was 20-6. The Raiders got a touchdown to make it 20-13 at the half. Both teams had 2 field goals in the second half. The Raiders had a chance driving down late to potentially tie and send it to overtime, but Derek Carr threw a interception at the 1-yard line, and thus the Bengals, the drought is over. Joe Cool, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase get it done. Obviously, the big drama of the game was in the second quarter. 26, yes, but how they got there. So, Joe Burrow, great play. It will be on his highlight tape, I'm sure, for years to come. Rolling to the outside, he throws the ball in the end zone, but is called out of bounds. They blew the whistle while the ball was in the air, and Tyler Boyd catch the touchdown, but the rule specified, and luckily I found out after, but the rule specified that when the whistle is blown, the play is dead. The play is dead. Now, they probably would have still scored and still would ultimately won the game, but it was a factor in the second quarter, you know, and ultimately it cost Jerome Bolger and the crew of the day, the officiating crew of the day. They'll likely not call any more playoff games for the rest of the playoffs due to that debacle. I mean, for the Bengals, they move on. You knew that if anybody was going to break that playoff drought of of the Bengals, it'd be Joe Burrow. Indeed, he did that. As for Raiders, despite going home early in the playoffs, was a hell of a year for Vegas. You know, despite everything going on, but ultimately they got done. And 4 straight wins to get here, and they kept it close. Uh, but yeah, Bengals move on. And then what was a throbbing defeat of the Patriots? The Bills. Bills. So the Bills won in Buffalo. Very frigid Buffalo. 6 degrees. 6-degree weather in Buffalo, Orchard Park. The Bills won 47-17. Originally, it looked like it was going to be close. Bills scored down, drive down, scored touchdown. Dawson Knox, great play. It looked like Josh Allen was going to throw the ball away, but in the back of the end zone, Dawson Knox, big tight end, who has had a good load of touchdowns this year, made a great play in the back of the end zone, good awareness, caught it, both feet down. 7, okay. And then Patriots get the ball. Mac Jones, he escapes on 2 off-script plays, drives him downfield, and then when it looked like it was going to be a touchdown to Nelson Aguilar, it ultimately became a pick for Micah Hyde. And then just when you think, okay, 7-7, it's going to be close. Nope. Bills just mostly controlled the clock, and Patriots defense just got worn down by the Bills. I mean, they let the game get away from them, and when you have a rookie quarterback in the playoffs and the game gets away from him, It's just not good. Although at least for Mac Jones, he had 2 touchdowns uh, late uh, to Kendrick Bourne, but yeah, Bills control the clock and they will advance to Kansas City on Sunday. And now, despite this, yes, I'm wearing a Patriots shirt. Yes, talk about the Patriots quick. In my opinion, it was a win for the Patriots this season. 10-7, rookie QB. We were 2-4 to start, but won 7 straight, 9-4, and then looked like we may have a chance at the 1 seed, and then we kind of fell off. Hit a rookie wall. I mean, as good as the 7-game win streak was, Mac Jones didn't do a lot. So, you're waiting for a rookie QB to look like a rookie QB, and you hate to say it because it's your team, but yeah, Mac Jones showed his inexperience at the end of the season. So, heck of a season for him, but he'll only learn from this. And then, the Bills, they start off great. They start off 4-1, after that loss to the Steelers opening day. And then they kind of hit a wall, but they were 7-5, 7-6, and then rolled through to end the year, win the division, and then yeah, the Bills are more looking like the Bills that beat Kansas City the first time and on Sunday Night Football. But we'll see in the rematch come Sunday. And then Sunday, to start a triple header on the day, the Buccaneers rolled through, firing the cannons, although a bit timidly, as they win 31-15. Tristan Wirfs, he was out, in, out, ruled out. His success is going to be key. The great all-pro second-year tackle out of Iowa for the Bucs. His success is definitely going to be key to Sunday. And Ryan Jensen as well was banged up, was in and out with an injury as well. So that 2 key pieces on that line is going to be very interesting to see their stats. But Mike Evans did well. It was 17-0, and it felt like the offense was kind of sputtering a bit, but the Eagles kind of shot themselves in the foot as well, because 15 points late, but they moved the ball, whether it was a fumble or an interception by Hurts, it's just the Eagles, much like the Patriots, Although this season, I think, was a much bigger win for the Eagles and the Patriots. The reason being is if you follow up with my power rankings before the season, you would know that I had the Eagles as one of the worst teams in the league. And then in the middle of the year, they changed my mind to the point where I said, don't sleep, don't forget about the Eagles. And they fired back from being 2-5, finished 7-3, and they have 9 wins on the year. They followed up with their strengths in the middle of the year, going to the run game, became the top rushing offense in the NFL. You know, Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, Boston Scott. They were a formidable trio. And when that O-line was healthy, particularly when Lane Johnson got back from his mental health issues, you know, glad he's okay. Uh, and, you know, they have some studs on defense, you know, Barnett, Fletcher Cox, Singleton, and Darius Slay. They have studs on defense, and they have the capital to work with come next season. So, yes, it didn't end the way they wanted to, but they they have a good future to look forward to. As for Bucks, you know, this is a game they had to have. You know, Mike Evans, he had a heck of a day, over 100 yards. Um, Giovanni Bernard and Keyshawn Vaughn, they both carried the load despite no Ronald Jones, no Leonard Fournette. Uh, they got it done. Uh, Defense did enough. You know, no Murphy Bunting. I mean, defense did enough. You know, I so worry about their secondary, but I mean, it's gonna be definitely tested on Sunday. So, but nonetheless, good win for the Bucks as they advance to the next round. 49ers and Cowboys. 49ers and Cowboys. Boy, was this a nostalgic feel. You know, the old 49ers Cowboys rivalry games in the playoffs. This game had a heck of an ending that will be talked about for a while. So, 49ers, they were up 16-7. And then Dak throws a pick that was a great read and great catch that set up a Deebo Samuel rushing touchdown. And it's like, okay, it's going to be a blowout pretty much. I mean, the 49ers started off well. They didn't do a lot. Jimmy G didn't do a lot, but he was controlling the game and then doing enough. Dak, you know, it's just, I don't know. But, so it's 23-7, and I was scratching my head like I just did now. But I was scratching my head as the Cowboys kicked a field goal in 49ers territory to go up or to cut into the deficit 23-10. Still a 2-possession game, but gotta get some momentum. And then Jimmy G throws a pick, a long darted pick, sail past Brandon Ayuk, and then which Anthony Brown recovered and set up a touchdown from there. And then next thing you know, it's 23-17. And you think, okay, the 49ers may blow it. In the end, the team that really blew it was the Cowboys in their execution of time management. They got the ball down late to potentially get a game-winning touchdown at an extra point. They had the ball down in 49ers territory. Less than 20 seconds left. You're like, okay, maybe take a short out route or something to make it a little closer for a Hail Mary try. That was not the case. Dak runs a quarterback draw play, and I think if he handed the ball to the referee properly, or maybe slip perhaps 5 yards sooner, they would probably would have had a couple seconds left. But Dak handed the ball to a center. It provided confusion, and the clock ran out, and that was that. Cowboys won and done in the postseason after an 11-6 season, or yeah, after that win over the Eagles, the B team Eagles, despite all that money they're paying Dak, which will only amp up next year. The money they're paying Dak, the money they're paying Zeke, the money they're paying Amari, they're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb eventually. All that money paid on that offense, and only 17 points and a first round exit. And Michael Parsons, I will say, he got dinged, looked a bit to start the game. And that's the other thing. Nick Bosa, he went out with concussion. Fred Warner went out with an ankle sprain. But kudos to the Niners, they held on, despite when it looked like they were going to blow it. They did enough, and they go to Green Bay on Saturday night, which should be fun. Elijah Mitchell, a real steal from the draft. 6th round pick. He missed a few games, but he has been just a crack in the code for them. And him, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle did not do anything really this game. He did have a couple catches late, but he did not do much. That just speaks to the overall depth of their team and their offense. And Jimmy G, if he cannot have any bonehead mistakes like he did at the end, then who knows? But what we do know is the Chiefs beat the Steelers 42-21 on Sunday night. You know, the game felt relatively weird to start. You know, first quarter was scoreless. TJ Watt, he had he had a pick in the first quarter. He had a touchdown, defense touchdown in the second. They were ahead 7-0, and he thought, okay, this is gonna be an ugly Pittsburgh Steelers game, and it was ugly, but in the opposite direction. As since then, the Chiefs just woke up, firing on all cylinders. You know, it was 35-7 before you knew it. And Big Ben, he did have 2 touchdowns in garbage time. So, if this is the last game of Big Ben, at least he had a couple tutties in there. But yeah, it's just not pretty. They host the Bills on Sunday, and I must say, I felt more impressed, I would say, with the Bills win than over the Patriots than I did with the Chiefs win over the Steelers. The reason why I say that is because Steelers were a great story and didn't feel like a playoff team. The Patriots, for all intents and purposes, did feel like a playoff team, but, before the game. And it's just, both were maulings, but it's going to be intriguing to see how both shape down for a shot in the AFC title game in 2 weeks. And then to end the wild card weekend, just when you thought, okay, we get one more close game to end wild card weekend, that was not the case. Rams beat the Cards, their rival Cardinals, 34-11. Kyler Murray, you could tell, looked antsy, looked off, looked anxious in his playoff debut. And, it was difficult to see because you could tell at their best during the regular season that they could play with anyone. Then you saw this game here, and for a person that watched the Cardinals for the first time, they're probably going to be like, well, this team doesn't belong. Why were they here? And I hope that this loss doesn't take away from the very good season that they had, because with wins come expectations. And it's why the NFL and the media loves the Chiefs. The wins come, the expectations come. Cardinals here, the expectations came. They were 7-0, and then they faced the Packers, and it was close. The run game beat them down, but they had a chance to win it late. AJ Green does not get his head turned around, and then the just when the expectations and the winds are rising, starts to take a skid, and then they did sort of right the shift. They were 10-2 coming into the rematch versus the Rams, but they lost their last 3 out of the last 4, finished 11-6. But that's the other thing. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the league. His presence opens up in a way like Derrick Henry for the Titans, opens up a bunch for the Cardinals receivers. And then with him not out there, I mean, they've had their days and not, but you could see kind of that these the in sync function of Kyler and his receivers. Again, it was probably playoff jitters, but just wasn't there. And defense of the Cardinals, again, a handful of players. This was the game of the weekend where you could really see the most of the gap between playoff experience, where pretty much everyone on the Rams had been to the playoffs. The Cardinals only had a few players. And, J.J. Watt, he returned, he made a couple plays, but nonetheless, that Buda Baker was knocked out during the game, took him to the hospital. Luckily today, he was released from the hospital and is back to Arizona. Hopefully he's all right. Good news that he, of course, was released from the hospital. But yeah, just off for the Cardinals. Not much to say. A bad, distasteful end to a good season. As for Rams, good for Matthew Stafford. Had not won a playoff game up to this point, but he didn't do a lot. He was 13-17 for 200 yards, 2 yards. OBJ, he had a throw in this as well, along with a touchdown, some big receptions. Cooper Kupp also did not have a big day, but his presence opened up Higbee, OBJ. They're finding their rhythm. They're finding, and in the run game, whether it was Michelle, whether it was Cam Akers, they really did well. If you take out that awful pick six, and that fumble punt, it will look different, but yeah, it was not good. Not good for the Cards. So that was Wild Card Weekend recap. But before I get into my predictions for the divisional round, because now down with 8, Kevin Durant, one of the bigger and biggest stars in the NBA currently. Obviously, big time scorer for the Nets, averaging nearly 30 points a game. Suffered a torn MCL and will be out 4 to 6 weeks. Big news for the Nets as, they caved in, letting Kyrie be a halftime or a part-time player. Now, James Harden, he's up and down, so they're going to have to carry the load. And now with the Chicago Bulls rising in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be they may take a dip. Question is how much, because there's a good parity in the East between teams. You got the Celtics, you got, the Heat, you got the Cavs, who have been a surprising story this year. They may take a dip, a quite a dip, without Kevin Durant, so that's going to be one to watch. But yeah, just bad news for the NBA and bad for the Nets. Divisional round weekends. Now down to 8 for the race for the Super Bowl. Intriguing tests, intriguing games to look forward to for this weekend. Only 4. We had 6 last week, and now we're down to 4. But who will come out from all these games? We shall see. First, though, on Saturday afternoon, Cincinnati Bengals, now coming off their first playoff win in over 30 years, looking to get back to their first AFC title game since 1988, going to Tennessee to play the top seeded Titans off a bye. The King is back. Derrick Henry likely back in the fold. No Larry Ogunjobi for the Bengals. He's having season-ending foot surgery. Trey Hendrickson's status is up in the air, although he did practice today. So that's a good sign. So the Titans have been the most overlooked team this season, pretty much. They are the 1 seed, and yet people lack excitement about them because, yes, they aren't as exciting as the Bengals or the Bills and the Chiefs, their counterparts left in the AFC. But they keep winning, and they ground and they pound you, and, Ryan Tannehill does enough off it, and their defense is coming along very well. They're the number 2 run defense in the league, so Joe Mixon, I imagine, is going to have a tough time trying to run on this defense. And so it's going to come down to Joe Burrow, really. And, Titans 3-point favorites, Titans really control their destiny. If they win here, they host the AFC title game and have the advantage there, and then have the opportunity to go to LA for the Super Bowl. where they won earlier this season against the Rams. So they hold the cards pretty much. The Bengals, I love the Bengals. I love Joe Cole. I love Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Uzama. But one thing that, even though Trey Hendrickson may return, one thing that scares me a bit about the Bengals is their offensive line is still due for hiccups. It just, they can look bad at times, but at times they can look okay. Give Burrow enough time because, you know, O-line can make a quarterback and O-line can make a O-line. And with this defense, Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, although there's a situation with him, so not sure about that. But, you know, Jack Rabbit, Kevin Byard making the All-Pro. I mean, which I'll touch up more on in the next episode, but assuming Derrick Henry's back and that defense of the Titans is getting better, I think this will be not as close as the spread suggests, but still be a mildly close game. So I'm going with the Titans here, 30-22. So then Saturday night, we got the 49ers going to Lambeau to play the Packers. Aaron Rodgers has not beaten the 49ers in the playoffs in his career. That's an interesting test. They lost 2012, 20, and 2013 to Kaepernick. 2019, NFC Championship, they lost to the 49ers. So, for the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, it'll be about getting over that hump. Now, obviously, they played a very good game this season in which Aaron Rodgers only needed 37 seconds to come down the field and kick a game-winning field goal against the 49ers after they drove them down. Packers 5.5-point favorites. Nick Bosa in concussion protocol. Fred Warner's status is up in the air. If they can both return, they have a swell chance, but off a bye in Lambeau, Jimmy G, I don't trust, although I won't be surprised if they do upset. But I'm going with the Packers here. And I would say a fair 24-17. Next on Sunday afternoon, the Rams coming off that slashing and weird game Monday night versus the Cardinals. They go to Tampa Bay in a rematch of the regular season. Tampa Bay 2.5-point favorites. Here's what I'll say. The first game was a shootout, and both teams have gone in weirdly different directions since then. The Rams, I would say, they got into a skid. They had to find their identity, but now I think their identity is found again. Run the ball, play action pass, don't throw it a ton so Matthew Stafford can make every throw in the book. Tampa Bay, the only team that has a better run defense than them in the playoffs is Tennessee. And they stuffed, for the most part, the Philadelphia Eagles run game, who was the number one run offense in football. Tampa Bay, the key stats will be their health. Ryan Jensen, Murphy Bunting, Tristan Wirfs. How will they all shake out? Because I do have questions about still Tampa's secondary. And, we know how good the receiving core of the Rams is. Now, so the question will be, whose offensive line really wins the day? Because whoever's offensive line, I believe, wins the day will win the game. Because both teams have very good receivers despite the lacks of the issues with the Bucs receivers, whether it's Godwin's injury, whether it's Brown getting released. They still have Mike Evans, they still have Gronk, they still have Brait, they still have Scotty Miller, who I imagine his role is going to be upped more. So yeah, which pass rush can win the day as well? This is going to be a high-scoring affair. I believe this will be a high-scoring margin. Bucks 2.5-point favorites. You see, Rams, I would say, need this win more than the Bucks. I will say that. The Rams need this win more than the Bucks. If the Rams lost this game, I would be more disappointed in them than I'd be the Bucks, because the Bucks, the defending champs, had a bunch of injuries throughout the year, banged up. going to be a question. This is tough. If I'm wrong, I'll be glad to be wrong. Rams win 30-28. So then, So then, now Sunday evening, you could say Sunday evening, the Buffalo Bills going to Kansas City again to play the Chiefs. Chiefs 2.5-point favorites. The Bills in the first game in the regular season won big against the Chiefs, and pretty much everything was working there for the Bills. They were on the rise. Chiefs were trailing and falling and having hiccups. Gregory Rousseau, he made that pick. Josh Allen was on fire. Now, both teams ravaged their opposition in the wildcard round. So something's got to give in this game, in this rematch from the AFC Championship game last year. Chiefs 2.5-point favorites. When you look at the Bills, okay, I already mentioned their journey throughout the season. If you look at the Bills, Josh Allen, we know is great. They've been running the ball a bit better as of late with Devin Singletary. I will say that. They have run the ball relatively better. Stephon Diggs, still very well, although Dawson Knox, he has looked, he was also on up and down as well, Dawson Knox, but the last few weeks he's gotten more involved like he was to start the season. Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, they've had kind of down seasons from last year. No Tre'Davious White, because Tre'Davious White was in that first matchup. He unfortunately got injured, tore his ACL. But you still got Micah Hyde. You still got Jordan Poyer in the secondary. Matt Milano, who's a great linebacker. Then you look at the Chiefs. You got, of course, Mahomes, and you got Kelsey, and you got Tyreek Hill. Still a question, though, about who's next. Because after last season, still no Sammy Watkins. So, gonna be a question on if they can take away the big plays, who is next? Who is next on depth chart? Defense has been fantastic for the Chiefs. Much more. Chris Jones moving back inside. Melvin Ingram has helped. You know, Honey Badger in the backfield, Okafor. Tough again, but I I don't think this will be as high scoring as the Rams and Bucks. Still, this is going to be a tight one. Hmm. 27, 24, Bills over Chiefs. Well, those are my scores there. Those are my predictions. But nonetheless, that's the episode for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, sorry for the little bit of delay, being a little later for this podcast, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did too. For my pro wrestling fans, I'll be back later this week for my pro wrestling reviews, as well as next week. Be back with sports review topics. But thank you all. Be safe. I'm Ajoe21love. I'm getting the hell out of here. Peace.